Hello everybody, welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast and welcome to another League One roundup here on the channel. A Wednesday morning, rather bizarre, but of course yesterday was the first Tuesday night games of the season. Very, very exciting time, some really interesting results, some quite surprising results as well. We're breaking them down in just a second. 4 selected games, looking at them from a tactical perspective, looking at how the games really sort of panned out and also some key players as well. But as per usual, in the comments down below, are you happy with your team's performance so far this season? But also yesterday at 7:45, or should I say nearly 10 o'clock when the game's finished. I want to get, of course, a discussion in the comment section down below. I'll be replying and responding to all of them as per usual. And before we start, thank you so much on the last episode talking about the roundup for Saturday's games. Of course, that came out on Sunday. The support has been absolutely incredible. The numbers are fantastic. The likes are incredible. And please may this continue because we're on an absolute roll at the moment. We're really quite growing, and that's special because I love doing it. I say I like doing it. I love doing this sort of thing, and if you're enjoying it as well, that absolutely makes my day. So thank you so much for that reason and support. Leave a like, subscribe, the notification bell next to it will also be notifying you when I go live or do a recorded episode. All of that. It's so easy and it helps me out more than you can imagine. Let's get straight into it. Enough of the admin. Let's get to talk about the footy. So, first game we're going to be discussing then. Got my list of games here. 4 selected games as per usual. But don't worry, we'll have a quick run through of all the fixtures. I'll give sort of a couple of thoughts and a couple of notes on each one before we go into detail on it. It's the same on all the roundups. And we're going to continue like that. So, the first game, Burton Albion against Ipswich Town. Burton, who... Let's be honest, they have been struggling this season. They did get their first draw on Saturday. It was an absolutely incredible draw. Not a draw that, was a tight game for a side that, are conceding quite a few goals, but also aren't scoring many, 0-0, 1-1. Absolutely not. They don't do that in League One. That isn't what happens. When a team's struggling and they need to draw a game of football, they don't need to. But when they do draw a game of football, they probably did need to be able to get a point on the table. It was a thriller, 4-4. Wasn't quite 4-4 in this one, and it'll be disappointing for Burton because it is another defeat. Is it one they should be overly concerned about? Probably not. Probably not, because again, Ipswich have been absolutely, brilliant. And the reason why I say probably not is because it's a home game for Burton, and they do need to start getting some points on the table, and that'll be the importance for them. But of course, it's Ipswich, and they've been brilliant this year, and they're always going to be such a difficult test. Like I say, Burton came into this game with a draw against Accrington 4-4. Ipswich came into this game with a massive win over MK Dons by 3-0. And as expected, Ipswich, they did strengthen in the summer, and they are going from strength to strength. Kieran McKenna, since he's come in, has done an incredible job, and so far this season, in his first full season, he really is looking to, I think, develop the side in so many different ways and improve them week in, week out. And this is a side now that look, I'm not going to say on course for promotion because it's only 4 games into the season and so much can change. But they're looking in a really, really good place to start the season with such positivity. And we know from looking at other clubs that have been promoted, other clubs that have done very, very well, if you start strong and you put in a real sense of consistency as early as possible, there's a high chance you're going to be up there this year. Of course, it is every game now until Christmas, and we can write that off. But they will... I'm sure they won't do that. And the reason why I'm sure they won't do that is because they've got real depth in different positions. If there's a few things that need to be changed, they've got the ability to change that within the squad. Kieran McKenna's a very switched-on manager from a tactical level, but also as a man manager, I've heard as well. He's a really, really good manager for that. So he's good at keeping the players happy and good at keeping the morale around the squad, in a really good place. And again, that's really helpful when you've got quite a big squad because there'll be players that will be left out. And can you manage them in the right way to make sure that every player is up for it? I think looking at it now, whoever comes in, they're doing a really, really good job. As for Burton, I mean, I'm not going to say that Jimmy Floyd-Hasselbank isn't a good man manager and hasn't got tactical nous, because I'm sure he has done. He's done it for Burton before. He saved them when it wasn't possible for them to be saved. They're not in a good place now, though. They're not in a good place now, and Jimmy Floyd-Hasselbank will be looking at this result and be looking at, start of the majority, really, of the start of the season and going, it is a little bit concerning. This one's not as concerning as people might think, though, even though it is a 1-0 defeat at home and it is another, defeat on the table. You look at the league table, where is it? Here. You see, they're 24th in the league. But I don't think this is the result that's the problem for me. It's not the result that's the problem because, again, like I say, Ipswich, they're going to be up there this year and they're going to be a top side. I think they did prove that last night, that they have got so a high level of ability. Burton have got 1 point bottom of the league. Ipswich are league leaders. It's 3 wins now on the trot, 10 points, the highest point side as well, which is interesting. They were sort of joint top with Sheffield Wednesday. We'll come on to Sheffield Wednesday's game in just a second. But they're no longer joint top. They are top now, clean on points, still unbeaten, of course. 3 wins on the bounce and a draw on the opening game. Looking at how the game pans out, looking at the momentum graph, you can see, looking at the screen, Burton, to be fair, did start the game fairly strong. They started the game the better side, then Ipswich sort of came into it around the 20th minute, then Burton sort of regained control. And you can see, looking at the sort of the height of the graphs, when you look at this sort of larger graph, if you like, looking at the attacking momentum, Burton did have moments, especially in that first half. I mean, the end of the half was all Ipswich, but for the first, I'd say, 20-odd minutes of the game, 25 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes, you'd say, they were dominant. And yeah, Ipswich did have a moment in there, but Burton did look good going forward, and that'll be the confidence that, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank will want to see. However, against these sort of sides, against most sides in this league, when you have that sort of attacking phase, you've got to make the most of it, because we know Ipswich are going to come hit back and they're going to have another chance. They're probably going to have a spree of chances, and there's a high chance they're going to score them. So when you're a side like Burton who are struggling, when you do have that sort of run, you've got to take those chances. And unfortunately for Burton, they weren't able to. Like I say, the end of the half, it did sort of finish with Ipswich in control. You look at the second half, I mean, it wasn't as a lively second half. There were moments in the game for both sides, but you sort of sway towards Ipswich. There are more blue when looking at that, and they took their chance on the, I'm going to guess, around 60th minute. Yeah, Marcus Harness makes it 1-0, an assist for the new left-back, Greg Lee. Of course, Marcus Harness as well, the new player who joined this summer from Pompey, and he looks to be having a really good start to this season. We know he can do it in League One. It's a brilliant signing for Ipswich because he's League One proven. He was brilliant for Pompey, and he's still doing a fantastic job now for Ipswich. And that's exactly the sort of signing that we speak about quite a lot. Proven players in League One going to another club. I mean, it's a bit of a loss for Pompey, who are doing fairly well, so they might not see it as a loss at the moment. For Ipswich, it's a brilliant piece of recruitment, and already I think they're really reaping the rewards. So yeah, just generally sort of breaking down the game, sort of my final thoughts on it, looking at the graph here. I mean, Burton, they're going to be a little bit upset in the first half. They couldn't take a few of their chances, but Ipswich, when they needed to be dominant and they needed to be clinical, they did take their chances. It wasn't their best performance of the season, it certainly wasn't, but at this point in the campaign, when they have shown a level of consistency already, and the performances coming into this game off the back of a 3-0 win against MK Dons, you don't have to be at your best, and we've spoken about it so much, it's a football cliche. Sometimes you haven't got to be at your best to get those results, and Ipswich, probably last night, will say, look, they weren't bad. Burton, they also weren't bad either. But Ipswich, they are the winning side with confidence. I think confidence might have edged this. I think a bit of confidence, a little bit of psychological influence would have been massive yesterday for Ipswich. They're the side in form, and they took their chances. As for Burton, they really are struggling. And unfortunately, then that psychological barrier I think they're sort of facing at the moment could be the reason why they couldn't take their chances they did have in that first half. But either way, Ipswich, they do win the game. Finally, possession stats were Ipswich in the game, 59% possession, 16 shots to 14. So like I say, the shots are fairly similar, 16 to 14. This is a side who are bottom of the league and a side who are top of the league at the moment, only 4 games in, of course. But again, both sides did have their chances. In fact, Burton had more shots on target. They did have more shots off target. And they actually had 2 big chances. So, yeah, it's a little bit frustrating, I imagine, as a Burton perspective. But Ipswich, they got the all-important win, and they got the 3 points that they ultimately needed. So, fair play to them. Finishes Burton 0, Ipswich Town 1. We spent quite a lot of time talking about that one. But yeah, quite a fascinating one to look at. Right, let's move on then to the Valley, is where we go next. They'll be hosting Plymouth on this Tuesday night. So Charlton versus Plymouth is where we go next, and it finishes 5-1 to Charlton at the Valley. We'll come on to Charlton in just a second, but as for Plymouth, it was a bit of a night to forget yesterday. That red card absolutely killed them. They got it around the 40th minute, and from then on, I mean, they conceded 4 goals. They did score 1, but conceding 4 is the big headline, and they struggled. Going down to 10 men was a bit of a killer for Plymouth, and like I say, it really did cost them the result, and the scoreline as well does not look pretty whatsoever. Like I said, they got the red card in the 40th minute, or around the 40th minute, I should say, and, I mean, they were 3-0 down at half-time, so, yeah, it's not brilliant, and they 1-0 down before that red card actually happened. It wasn't ideal for Plymouth. We'll come on to them in just a little bit more detail in a second. As for Charlton, I want to sort of say a few things about Charlton, because I think Ben Garner, a lot of people sort of raise their eyebrows, or shall I say, maybe not as happy with the appointment of Ben Garner compared to the other managers that, of course, were sort of being linked to the new job, or the vacant job, I should say, after Johnny Jackson got sacked. I think he's proving quite a few people wrong. I think he's somebody who came in from Swindon, did a really good job at Swindon under the circumstances, got them into position in League 2 where not many people thought they would do. His League 1 record isn't brilliant whatsoever. Let's be quite fair with it. At Bristol Rovers, he had a pretty abysmal win percentage, or whatever you want to call it. And a lot of Bristol Rovers fans thought, I don't know if he's got that League One ability. Clearly, Charlton, they believed in him. They thought he did have the credentials as the manager to succeed. And so far, let's not go over the top. It's only 4 games or so. It is 4 games exactly. I'm not going to go and sit and start screaming Bengala's name and saying that Charlton are going to be walking to promotion. However, results like these, performances like these, and when you compare it to last season, they're a completely different side. And that's exactly what all Charlton fans would have wanted. If you said to them, next season, what do you really want from your side? Absolutely nothing of the season prior to this one. That's exactly probably what they would have wanted. New manager, we want to see a new side, we want to see a new style of play, and we want to see a little bit of attacking, forward-thinking, winning football. But I think that's probably what all football fans would say, and all managers want to see from their side. That's exactly what Charlton would have wanted to say, and a real improvement on last year would be the feeling. And I don't think anyone can doubt they look a much better side than they did last year. And that result yesterday, even though they were playing with an extra man, I mean, to score 2 goals after going, having your opposition go down to 10 men is just impressive in itself, especially with 5 minutes after it. Going down to 10 men, Plymouth in the 40th minute, and then them scoring 2 goals after that to go 3-0 up at half time. I mean, that is really, really impressive. Having a little look at how the game did pan out, you can see the first goal came in the 11th minute of the loanee Raksaki. We look at Charlton's recruitment as well. I said it in the predictions video. I said their recruitment was going a little bit under the radar. I was really, really impressed with their recruitment. I thought they really had brought in players that were good in League 2 and proven in League 2. And the question was always going to be, could they make that step up? A lot of Swindon players as well, and ones that Ben Garner can trust and know that they can play his style of play. But also they're going down the route of loan players from the Championship and also the Premier League. Stephen Sessignon knows not quite a lot about League One, also about Plymouth, of course, the opposition last night, spending time on loan there for the second half of last year. As for Raksaki, brilliant job in the youth setup, the under-23 setup for Crystal Palace last season. It was time to make a move in professional football. A lot of sides wanted him. I believe Oxford were interested. He went to Charlton, not far from Crystal Palace from a young lad perspective. He hasn't got to travel too far from home. And already 11th minute into the game, he's making an impact, and he's really proving to be, I think, that exciting winger that everybody is talking about. We have a little look at the red card. It was about the 39th minute, so close to the 40th minute, 39th minute. James Wilson, a handball. A penalty in the 41st minute for Jaden Stockley, and then a 45+3 goal from Sean Clare, of course, the ex-Oxford United man, assisted by Kirk. So 3-0 up at half-time, like I said, a red card in the midst of that, but ultimately 3-0 up at half-time, whatever happens, is a very, very good place to be in that attacking football, and that, I believe it was an absolute strike from Sean Clare. I believe it was an absolute hit from him. However you look at it, it's a brilliant place to be at half-time, and the scoreline is exciting. You look at half-time, I mean, there were some serious changes. It looks as though in the 46th minute, 3 changes were made from Stephen Schumacher, the Plymouth Argyle manager. In the 54th minute, he made another change. It got it back to 3-1 with Morgan Whittaker in the 71st minute, but that wasn't enough because it got 10 times worse, you'd say, from Plymouth perspective. Charlie Kirk makes it 4-1, and then Miles Lieber makes it 5-1. And you finish the game conceding 5 goals, Plymouth, but scoring 5 goals, Charlton, and in a brilliant place. You can see, looking at the league table here, 6th in the league. They are in those playoff spots, but only on goal difference. A 5-1 win certainly does help that goal difference. It's a brilliant win, and that squad now is looking full of confidence. It's looking really, really quite exciting, you could say, and they're playing really good football. They're playing with this 4-3-3 that's very, I think, fluid. The way they're using the wingers is exceptional. The way that Jaden Stockley, they probably do need another striker. That probably will be what they're looking at now before the window closes. But I think Jaden Stockley getting a goal yesterday would have been important, even though it is from the penalty spot. It is an important goal. We know the physical presence he does also hold as well. As for Plymouth, it is one to forget, but going down to 10 men certainly did not help them, because James Wilson was the man who got sent off. I'm looking at that and I'm going, normally a red card doesn't mean you concede 4 goals. You can stay in the game, but Plymouth weren't able to, and that probably does show the signs of Charlton playing some brilliant stuff and causing Plymouth problems. The star man for me has probably got to be Charlie Kirk, but also Raksaki looks to be a really, really exciting player, somebody who, like I say, did brilliant well at youth level at Crystal Palace last season. Was he going to be able to play professional football at a high enough or a good enough level, you'd say, and I think he's already proven to people that he can do that. But Charlie Kirk did have an exceptional game, 8.8 rating on SofaScore, 1 goal and 1 assist, a shot on target, couple of shots off target, and 42 touches in the game as well. 3 key passes during the match as well. But it's those goals and those assists that really are quite exciting. And Charlie Kirk, somebody who hasn't had the easiest of starts since he joined from Crewe. it's 2 summons ago now. I mean, he really now is sort of looking like he's going to get an opportunity under Ben Garner, and it looks as though he's taking that opportunity. Fair play to them, and fair play to Charlie Kirk himself, because it finishes 5-1 to Charlton against Plymouth Argyle yesterday on that Tuesday night. So Portsmouth versus Cambridge United is where we head next. Fratton Park on a Tuesday night, finishes 4-1 to Portsmouth, and this winning run that they're starting to go on Danny Cowley's side, well, it's getting better and better. Back-to-back wins for them now. Third in the league, 8 points in those 4 games. 2 wins and 2 draws. As for Cambridge United, it is a little bit inconsistent. A win, a loss, a win, a loss. And they are, of course, on 6 points out of those 4 games. 2 wins and 2 losses. But for Pompey, it's an absolutely brilliant win. And it's one in which they needed, because their home form this season, I mean, it hasn't been bad. But again, you talk about that draw against Lincoln City, that 0-0 draw against Lincoln City. I mean, to be fair, looking at Oxford United's performance against Lincoln City, it's probably not as bad as people would want to make out. But of course, drawing at home, it's not ideal, 0-0. And again, there are a few people sort of saying, is that 2 points dropped? How do you sort of react to that being the home side? Well, I think they will take this home win 4-1 against Cambridge United. This is not an easy Cambridge United side to score 4 goals against. They're very, very difficult to break down. Yesterday seemed as though they weren't as difficult to break down as they sort of known to be, really. I think Bart Bonner is a really good coach at Cambridge United. He sort of builds his side from the back, and he wants to sort of keep that solidity at the sort of the back with that back 4. He's got 2 in a double pivot in front of that back 4. It is a very traditional 4-2-3-1 with a 4. It's very difficult to break down. A double pivot, which isn't easy to break through. And then sort of you got 4 attacking players in front of them. Harvey Nibbs being the attacking midfielder. Sam Smith can play off the right, but also can play through the middle. Played off the right yesterday with Shiloh Tracy off the left, and then Joe Ironside leading the line, who did score yesterday. It wasn't enough, and simply just a consolation goal. As for Pompey, I mean, that side now, it's weird, isn't it? You look at a side before the start of the season, you go, it's a good side. Would it get in the top 6? It's tough. You look at that side now and you go, there's quality in there. There really, really is. And you look at that really, really solid. I mean, they're playing with a 4-4-2, but it's very, very interchangeable. It's very fluid. They can go from 4-4-2 to 4-3-3 if they need to. They can even change it to about 5 if they want to. They didn't really do that yesterday at all. So what I'm trying to say is the 4-4-2 can sort of be turning into so many different formations. They could even go with one up top. Colby Bishop can come in. They can move the sort of second striker behind him and also play with sort of an attacking midfielder and then one leading the line. So it's very, very interchangeable. But 4-4-2 is how they set up yesterday and how Danny Cowley felt was the best way to beat this Cambridge United side. And Colby Bishop, I mean, they signed him from Accrington Stanley as the striker. New number 9, a little bit of pressure, you'd say. Well, he's doing a very, very good job. Got a goal yesterday as well. And, an all-important one, because they did go 1-0 down. How are they going to deal with going 1-0 down? Well, Joe Ironside made it 1-0 after the 30th minute. Half-time, or just before half-time, I should say, Colby Bishop makes it 1-1. And second half, Danny Cowley, I don't know what he said at half-time, but that's why they earned their money. A brilliant, brilliant team talk, because the second half, it was very, very much Pompey. When they did come forward, we talk about being dominant. Well, take your chances when you're being dominant. Pompey did exactly that. You can see here when the goals did come. One just before half-time, we've just spoken about. But in that second half, 3, you look at the graph here, you can see very, very clear pointers on the graph. One there, and one there. They scored in absolutely every single one of them, and that's exactly what a side at this level has to do if they're going to be successful. When they do have good moments going forward, being clinical is so, so important, and they did do exactly that. It was 2-1 Ronan Curtis in the 60th minute on exactly the hour mark. Michael Jacobs makes it 3-1 in the 70th minute. In the 77th minute, the 4th and final goal for Pompey was Connor Ogilvie making it 4-1, like I say, and it's a very, very dominant performance. It's a brilliant performance for them. And I just look at that side now and I go, it's got real balance. You've got Marlon Pack, who's having a brilliant start to the season. It's a new signing, Tom Lowry. You've got Owen Dale, didn't have the best of games yesterday, but someone on loan from Blackpool who I think is going to offer you that real sense of creativity, but also flair on that right-hand side. He's a quick player as well. You look at Ronan Curtis on the left, we know what he can do. He's done it in League One for quite a long time. Colby Bishop is scoring goals like he did at Accrington Stanley, now in a Pompey shirt, which is very, very important. Dane Starler didn't have the best of games yesterday, but still young, so they've got a lot to learn. And, professional football is a bit of a step up, and I mean, of course it is, but, you're going from youth football and 23s football to playing week in, week out League One. That is a change, and that will be a transition that needs to be made. Some players do it quicker than others. I'm sure Dane Scarlett will get there eventually. Certainly has got the potential and the talent to do it. It's just sort of getting it into games on a regular basis. You look at that back 4, Connor Ogilvie at left back, doing a brilliant stuff. I mean, he's scoring quite a few goals, getting quite a few assists this season as well. So he looks to be having a really good game, season at left back. A brilliant game yesterday as well. Sean Raggett and Michael Morrison, the 2 centre backs, who again only seeing 1 goal yesterday. A bit disappointing, of course. They would have that clean sheet wasn't able to be kept, but at 1-0, going 1-0 down, to be fair, just win the game will be the all-important thing. Joe Rafferty, of course, at right back, and Joshua Griffiths, the goalkeeper on loan from West Brom, between the sticks. Again, he seems to be doing a good job as well. And that bench has got real quality. You look at the players you can turn to. Joe Pigott, who scored against Cardiff City. You've got people like Louis Thompson, Michael Jacobs. You've got Zach Squanton as well, the fullback they got in the summer. The new goalkeeper they signed as well from Tottenham on a free transfer. These are people that, again, he can turn to, and Danny Cowley's got that ability now with the squad that he can go, we can make that sort of signing, or we can go and make that sort of signing, and he can sort of make his way into the team if he needs to. And he's got a really quite strong bench that, again, he can sort of change things in game, and that'll be exciting for him. And it's a brilliant win for Pompey. Fair enough to them. 4-0 written all over it. Of course, he gets his regular shout out when we talk about Pompey. Definitely go and check out. I don't know if his video has gone live when I'm recording this, but I believe he did go to the game yesterday. I don't know whether or not he filmed it, so I could be false advertising a match that isn't going on YouTube. If it is, then go and check it out. If it isn't, then you can't watch it. But yeah, they won, so I expect him to. It's a Pompey game. Why wouldn't he be? But yeah, I know how to recording hasn't come out yet. But anyway, let's move on. Pompey, though, brilliant win. Fantastic 3 points. And 4 goals as well. Danny Cowley, he's going to be absolutely loving that. Right then, let's move on to the fourth and final game of this roundup. So finally then, Peterborough United versus Sheffield Wednesday. And as for Sheffield Wednesday's unbeaten run in League One this season, it does come to an end. As for Peterborough United, they needed to get back to winning ways after the defeat of the weekend against Plymouth Argyle. They certainly did do that in good fashion on Tuesday night. You can see here, looking at the recent results, Sheffield Wednesday came into this game with more confidence, you would say, doing very well, unbeaten, like I previously mentioned, and a win against Charlton Athletic. Not their best performance whatsoever against Charlton. We spoke to quite a few Charlton fans, quite a few Sheffield Wednesday fans. Even they said that it wasn't a good performance, really. Charlton were the better side, but they got the all-important 3 points. And sometimes you've got to play, maybe not at your best, but still get the 3 points. And that's a side of, I think, resilience, ultimately. When you're not playing your best, but still getting the 3 points, it's exciting. And it almost is showing a side that, could be really up there come the end of the season. It's an important credential to have. It's done by quite a few sides that get promoted. You've got to still get the points when you're not playing your best football. As for Peterborough United, you can see here they came into this game with a defeat against Plymouth Argyle, 2-0 away from home. They needed to get back to winning ways. Of course, they had a 100% winning start. Of course, they got ruined on Saturday, but now back to winning ways against Sheffield Wednesday yesterday. A lot to talk about. Got a few sort of interesting headlines, a few things coming out of the game. Some interesting stuff about Sam Briers. Was not very happy after being substituted after that red card. In fact, that's where we'll start. In the 34th minute, Reece James got sent off. And the 40th minute, Briers came off for Dominic Iorfa. So it looked as though it was a red card for a defender. Of course, that had to be made a substitution as quickly as possible. Very usual, really, for a manager to make a substitution quite quickly after a red card in that first half, especially it's a defender. I think a defender is a really important one. You like to bring a defender on pretty quickly. Strangely enough, though, it was like 6 minutes after the incident. So whether or not there was a bit of backlash from the red card and it sort of did delay time. I mean, again, it's very normal. Sam Briers, the man who got taken off for Dominic Iorfa, for defensive stability, you'd say. Somebody, of course, who's coming on, Iorfa, a defender, to replace the defender that got sent off. Briers, though, he was not happy. The midfielder came out and, he didn't speak, but his actions quite spoke louder than words, you'd say. Sheffield Wednesday midfielder George Briers was substituted in the first half of the hours clash against Peterborough United after defender Reece James received a red card, and Briers was subsequently sacrificed. When Briers reached the touchline area and a manager offered a handshake for support, he slapped it away before appearing to shove another manager away, before that manager pulled Briers back and had to be separated by backup goalkeeper Cameron Dawson. I mean, that's not great, is it? That's not brilliant, and I can't really show you the photo because I'm probably going to get copyrighted. It's actually a video of the incident happening. I'm not going to show you it, but I can see it just down here now. Yeah, it doesn't look best pleased, and you can see why. You get substituted in the first half. It's not ideal, of course, it's not. But at the same time, it's for the best of the team. It is the best for the team. I think it's a bit of an immature reaction, to be honest. You get a defender sent off. You want to bring a defender on, and you've got to sacrifice a midfielder. We know the way that Sheffield Wednesday play. They play with the 5 in the midfield. You take a midfielder off. You take a midfielder off. Of course, you are still a man down, obviously, but you're playing still with 4 in the midfield, 2 up top, and you've got your 3 at the back still. Of course, you are playing with 10 men. There's much more stability and a much more sense of stability from back to front. So, it doesn't seem like he was having the best of games. Maybe there's even an argument on the bench as well before the game, before it all kicked off. That had a yellow card. Maybe George Bryce wasn't having the best of games in midfielder before he got taken off, and maybe the delay was to wait to see which midfielder wasn't having the best of games to decide which one to substitute. George Bryce was the one that got sacrificed, and he was not dealing with it very, very well. He didn't react to it in the best way possible. It was still 0-0 at half-time, even with all of that drama. In the second half, though, the side with more players did come through and, got the all-important 3 points. Johnson, Clark Harris, the striker for Peterborough United. A lot of people expect him to be scoring a lot of goals this season. I certainly do. He makes it 1-0 in the 65th minute, and Jack Taylor makes it 2-0 in the 75th minute as well. And from then on, there are no more goals. Quite a few substitutions, but not much drama. And you can see, looking at the graph as well, the first half very nitty-gritty. You can see the red card appeared, fairly early on in the game. Still, of course, the first half, sort of in the, like I said, the 30th minute of the first half, and within the first half an hour, it's fairly early. And you can see here before that, it was Sheffield Wednesday really the side in sort of more dominance. A little bit of Peterborough United before the half-time whistle went. Second half, though, very much Peterborough United. Sheffield Wednesday did come out the better side, but Peterborough United, they took control, and they going forward, they looked in really, really good shape. That's the breakdown. That's Peterborough United versus Sheffield Wednesday. A brilliant win for Peterborough United, you'd say, against a side, like I say, in Sheffield Wednesday, who this season have been doing very, very well. But it's a crazy, crazy start to the season for everybody. 7 points now, 8th in the league for Sheffield Wednesday. 2 wins, 1 loss and 1 draw. They do need to get back. That was a strange sentence. They do need to get back to winning ways, of course, for Saturday. Looking at the other games, you can see here, we spoke about that one. Barnsley versus Bristol Rovers, a 3-0 win for Barnsley. A brilliant result for them. They were 2-0 up at half-time in that one. Exeter, again, Wycombe Wanderers not in a good place whatsoever. They're losing again, and Gareth Ainsworth, it's strange, isn't it? As soon as I start saying Wycombe will be fine, they'll be up there again this season because they like the backs against the wall mentality. They still might do that. They're losing again there. Exeter did a really, really good job of winning that one. Shrewsbury Town versus Derby County, 0-0. A little bit frustrating, you'd say, from a Derby County perspective, but a brilliant draw, you'd say, for Shrewsbury Town, who continue to start to sort of gain a little bit of run going now. Plymouth Fleetwood Town against Charlton Cheltenham Town was 0-0. MK Dons beating Port Vale by 2-1, getting their first 3 points of the season. Very, very important, and a very, very good win as well. Jack Stevens, I believe, was in goal for Port Vale. He considered his first 2 goals of his time there on loan. 2-1 to MK Dons in that one. Bolton Wanderers again. They're winning 1-0 against Morecambe. Not the best of scorelines, really, considering their dominance. You can see here, first half, all Bolton Wanderers. Second half, pretty much all Bolton Wanderers. Morecambe didn't have a sniff whatsoever, but Bolton, they did get the all-important win, and they got the 3 points they'll be desiring. And 1-0, they take it and they move on. And finally, Oxford United versus Lincoln ended with Lincoln beating us by 2-1. Very, very disappointing. And Oxford United's bad start to the season, it only continues. I'm thinking of doing a bit more of an overall look at Oxford so far, looking at the start of the season in a little bit more detail very, very soon. Hopefully tomorrow, maybe. This will be coming out, of course, on Wednesday. If you did enjoy this, please leave a like and subscribe. On the road now to 2.5 thousand subscribers. I think it's even more than that now. I think we're at 2.7 thousand subscribers. I do forget count because you're doing a very, very good job of you subscribing, and you're doing an amazing job. Leave a like, all that good stuff as well. And I'll see you all very, very soon. This has been the League One Roundup or Game Week 4. Take care, stay safe. Take care. See you soon.